Good morning. Welcome to Hidden in Plain Sight, Northern Virginia's rise as a U.S. tech giant. Today, NVTC will unveil the findings from its 2024 Northern Virginia Regional Tech and Innovation Study. To kick off today's webinar, please welcome NVTC Board Chair and President and CEO of Maximus, Bruce Caswell, and NVTC President and CEO, Jennifer Taylor.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bruce Caswell, Chair of the Northern Virginia Technology Council and President and CEO of Maximus. It's great to see so many of you here today virtually as we shine a spotlight on something truly remarkable that's happening right in our backyard. Northern Virginia's rise as a major force in the U.S. technology landscape. As leaders and innovators, you know how fast-paced and competitive the tech industry is. Yet, what we're seeing in Northern Virginia is something truly unique. In recent years, our region has quietly transformed into a hub for innovation and entrepreneurship, driving growth in everything from cloud computing, cyber, and AI to space and quantum computing. This isn't just a story about tech companies either. It's a story about our community, built by partnerships across public and private and academic sectors. It's about cultivating a highly skilled workforce, fostering a culture of innovation, and addressing the infrastructure needs to support today's most transformative technologies. Northern Virginia is rapidly becoming a model for the nation on how a region can harness technology to drive economic and social impact. Today's event is a celebration of that progress, and more importantly, a chance to discuss the future. We're thrilled to have with us researchers and regional tech executives to share their insights on what's next for Northern Virginia and how we can continue to build on this momentum. Thank you for joining us. Let's dive into this exciting discussion exploring Northern Virginia's rise as a tech powerhouse, an achievement that's been hidden in plain sight. Enjoy the event.
Thank you, Bruce, and good morning, everyone. Northern Virginia's growth as a tech hub has been absolutely remarkable, so much so that we at NVTC felt there was an opportunity to dig deeper to truly understand what makes this region so unique in the national tech landscape. This past summer, NVTC collaborated with McKinsey & Company to conduct a comprehensive study that would not only highlight the region's position as one of the nation's leading tech hubs, but also explore the opportunities and challenges that will continue to shape this region's future growth and innovation. The study was born out of a desire through our strategic plan to answer three core questions. First, what assets make Nova an attractive destination for tech companies, setting us apart from other tech hubs? What challenges do we need to mitigate to sustain and accelerate our momentum? And how can we as a community ensure this growth continues to positively impact the region's economy, workforce, and our quality of life? Now, a quick note about the study's methodology. The study was built on three key components. First, a survey was sent to the membership, and we had over 82 top tech organizations that are NVTC members respond. We also conducted over 30 in-depth interviews with senior executives, many of which are NVTC board members. And then lastly, we used independent third-party research. The report assesses our tech hub on 5 key dimensions, and they are talent, innovation, the ecosystem, business attractiveness, and the proximity to the U.S. federal government. This morning, we'll dive into the study findings, and then I'll facilitate a panel discussion with 3 NVTC board members to bring the report to life through their experiences. We will explore how they're investing in technology and talent, and we'll hear their perspectives on the future of the region's tech industry, especially considering our unique advantage with proximity to the U.S. federal government during these very unprecedented times. So now I'd like to introduce Maisha Glover, partner at McKinsey and also an NVTC board member. She's going to walk us through the findings to set the stage for the panel discussion. So Maisha, over to you, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Jennifer, and good morning to everyone here on the webinar. Again, my name is Maisha Glover. I'm a partner at McKinsey in our Washington, D.C. office, and I lead a lot of work at the intersection of technology and organization performance in health. And as Jennifer shared, our purpose of this research was to identify the key challenges and opportunities impacting the growth of Northern Virginia's technology ecosystem, as seen through the eyes of some of the largest and most innovative technology organizations in the region. So it's been a fascinating study, and it supports NVTC's unique platform as the voice of the region's top technology leaders. It also reveals some interesting paths forwards as you either consider the impact NVTC will have in 2025, your role as a business executive driving organizational performance, and/or as a technology leader driving your path forward. So it's not a stretch to say that Northern Virginia may be one of the most underrated technology hubs within the United States. And when you look at the actual facts, consider this. This region has the second highest employment of any US metro area, with 376 tech and tech occupation workers. That's 11.2% of the overall workforce. We are the largest data center market in the world, with over 2 times the total inventory of the next largest market. And not that we're competitive or anything, but that's also 5 times the capacity of Silicon Valley, since everyone wants to always bring up Silicon Valley. So compared with pure level technology hubs, and I'm talking about the New Yorks, the San Franciscos, the Seattles, the Bostons, et cetera, our region also boasts 2.5 times more computer science graduates. We should feel really proud of that. And we have the highest density of high growth companies. And what I mean by that is that is the number of firms with greater than 2 million in revenue per 1,000 firms. So a phenomenal good news story right there. But enough of all the accolades about the region. What did we hear from some of these top employers in the region? So it's going to be hard for me to really put this 50-page report into 10 minutes, but I want to at least give you some high-level findings, right? And I encourage you to dive deeper into the report when it's live. But we will look for today look at our 5 dimensions of our analysis. And we call those 5 dimensions pillars. So we'll start with pillar number 1, and that's on talent. Great. As one might expect, access to highly skilled talent is the secret sauce for why employers are here within Northern Virginia. In fact, 73% of those that we interviewed and surveyed considered access to talent to be a key advantage, and 55% ranked it as the top factor defining leading tech hub. What is less well known, probably outside of this webinar convening here, perhaps, is that the tech space demand is significantly outpacing supply. And this was a major concern for some of the companies that we connected with. Tech leaders noted particularly challenging gaps and some skills. And so for AI ML, 62% of those that we interviewed and surveyed mentioned that was a challenging skills gap. Cyber, 43% highlighted that, and for software development, 39%. So as you can imagine, this is exacerbated by some of the other things that we have within this special region, right? Government clearances, local talent, competition, and shifting expectations around flexible working and cost of living. But I want to continue on this talent front a little bit, right? Because respondents told us that closing this current skill gap will require a significant increase in new talent supply. That means focusing on the holistic, the full talent pipeline. So what we heard is for entry level, academic partnerships was key, internships and apprenticeships was key, skills-based hiring was also key. For mid-career, similarly, reskilling and upskilling existing talent. And exciting to know that many of the large educational industries right here are already offering professional training that we all can tap into. And then, of course, it was retaining the exquisite current talent that each of the employers already had. The next pillar is on innovation. And Here, we asked leaders about where are they investing today, because we wanted to get a sense to share with you all about what's coming. And so overall, Gen AI, cybersecurity, and cloud computing are the top 3 technologies that tech firms are prioritizing for Northern Virginia over the next 2 to 3 years. We want to time bound it so that you would have an understanding of kind of the areas of focus today. Interestingly, Northern Virginia tech leaders appear to be prioritizing AI even higher than some global peers. And what I mean by this is we took the data from a survey that McKinsey did earlier in the year, a global survey, and we compared it for the data that we did for this study. And so in terms of prioritizing AI, 89% was the percentage for Northern Virginia and 74% globally. Northern Virginia also continues to lead in cyber and cloud technology, with 83% of tech leaders investing in cybersecurity and digital identity, again, at higher rates than the global peers as compared to the McKinsey survey that we did earlier in the year, and 61% in cloud and edge computing. But let's look a little further out. So although space exploration and quantum are in the early stages of tech adoption, Northern Virginia is well positioned to become a leader in both technologies due to its concentration of federal R&D facilities and tech companies. And I'll share with you, one tech executive noted that quantum may feel far off today, but we're already thinking about how you develop a risk profile for quantum-based cyber attack. Now, the next pillar that we're going to kind of share a little bit about is on the ecosystem, and that's, all of us. And I'm excited about some of the findings here in Pillar 3 ecosystem. Virginia has not historically been known as like a hot startup ecosystem, but we're seeing new energy here today, as Bruce prefaced. From 2022 to 23, Virginia attracted over 10,000 startups and raised over $2.5 billion in venture capital funding. We are now ranked 8th nationally, according to PitchBook, and it's estimated that about a third of the funding actually ran through Northern Virginia. Northern Virginia excels in developing growth stage companies, ranking #1 in terms of firms that scaled up greater than 50 employees within 10 years. And as I shared at the beginning, we are also #1 in the density of high growth companies, greater than 2 million per 1,000 firms, compared to our peers. The Northern Virginia Tech Center, tech ecosystem, is also home to 17,000 tech companies. Let me repeat that, 17,000 tech companies, including some of the world's largest tech firms, and its close ties to the US federal government uniquely drives growth and innovation and advancement for businesses. So the question comes up, what else is needed to strengthen and accelerate this tech ecosystem? And I want you to hold on to these 3 points. I think it'll be interesting as we hear from the panel as well to tie this together. But leaders that we interviewed in surveys suggested 3 areas: enhancing the regional brand, #1; promoting emerging technology, #2; and developing more accelerators, incubators. So I want to just pause really quickly and we have 2 NVTC members that are really creating a lot of positive momentum in this broader ecosystem, because as Bruce mentioned, this is a community effort to continue to accelerate this. And George Mason University, for those that know, they have this new Fuse building located in Arlington campus. And it will house a mix of university R&D and corporate innovation labs and incubators and co-working facilities. So a lot of credit to Dr. Greg Washington and his leadership and the team there for what they're doing, and other educational institutions here in the region. The Virginia Innovation Partnership Corporation is another example of what they're doing here to accelerate it. They're investing in so many of these new startups and truly helping to accelerate this innovation and commercialization within our region. And so an exciting news story about how we can strengthen this tech ecosystem and what's already being done to continue to accelerate it. So let's go to business attraction, which is our pillar number 4. Tech organizations are really committed to Northern Virginia. That's exciting. I mean, we did this broad interview and our survey, and 77% plan to stay, and 29% are actually considering expanding within Northern Virginia within the next 2 to 3 years. Key decisions and factors for either reducing or expanding their presence within the region included ease of doing business, talent, and infrastructure. Also, Northern Virginia stands out for its business-friendly regulatory environment and Virginia's grants and incentives. So many of those that we interviewed in the survey said it makes it very attractive compared to other regions, despite some of the rising costs that we have within NOVA. Still, most of those that we interviewed and surveyed, the high cost of living continues to be a challenge. High housing costs, transportation challenges were some of the chief drivers that many of the tech firms that we studied highlighted. An interesting caveat, though, and I think this is one to note. If you look at the median salaries here versus, the cost of living and compare it to our peers, for example, San Francisco and New York, Seattle, Chicago, or even Raleigh, North Carolina, the Northern Virginia region is actually the best on the list. So regardless, people aren't feeling that. And all of the employers that we spoke to says that it's a major talent challenge. They're not feeling this. All right, so we're gonna go to pillar number 5, and this is the fellow government. So it's our 5th pillar, but it's a very important pillar given where we are within the region. The US federal government is a massive customer for Northern Virginia. And before my team led the study, I had no idea of the enormous dollar spend. So 77 billion spent on IT contracting in the US in 2023. 31% of that was performed in Northern Virginia alone. That's an estimated of 24 billion. If you were to zoom out of that, 53% of that was performed in the DC metropolitan region. That's $41 billion, right? Significant client right here for us. Northern Virginia also offers tech firms unique access to this federal government client. And many said this aids in their client connections and the insights that they can gain into the mission challenges that many of the tech firms have. However, startups, very niche boutique firms, face a high barrier entry due to sometimes contract procurement hurdles. So as we think about really developing this wider tech ecosystems, leaders share with us that they recognize that we also need to think about developing maybe some non-federal industries as part of this broader tech ecosystem in order to scale it further and with greater depth. So it's worth asking, given our strengths in talent, given our strengths in R&D and cloud, et cetera, all the things that we talked about, what are other markets that we are positioned to attract here that would complement this holistic ecosystem that we're building and truly help diversify our core technology ecosystems? So in the interest of time, I'm going to end there. Obviously, there's so much more in this report. Again, I encourage you all to dig into it after the panel discussion. But the takeaway that I would leave with you is that our region is clearly one of the nation's leading tech hubs. We have a number of trends moving in our favor. It's an exciting time, no matter where you fall within this tech ecosystem. The opportunities are plenty, but getting there will require all of us to come together to overcome some of these current challenges. During our interviews, there was clearly a lot of interest in, I would say, figuring out what tech companies in the region can do to help drive this acceleration. We see this as the start of an ongoing conversation. And I know I'm excited to see what NVTC is already doing in terms of racing ahead to lay the groundwork for an impactful 2025. So I hope these insights are helpful as you drive your respective tech journeys. We were very excited to partner with NVTC on this study. But now to dive even deeper into the connection of what these insights mean for the future of our region with members of the tech community, I'd like to welcome back Jennifer Taylor, who will moderate a panel. So Jennifer, over to you.
Wow, that was so good. Thank you, Maisha. Yeah, thank you so much for going over that summary. I will share, and I'll address this again at the end. The full document is available on the NVTC website for your download later today. Right, it's available now, so you can dive into the full report. Maisha, I want to also take a moment to thank you and your full McKinsey team for your invaluable contributions to the survey development, the facilitation of all the one-on-one interviews. You had subject matter experts for each company, which was just such a treat, and for all your data analysis. So I'm so grateful and appreciative of your time and your team's time, as this is something I've wanted to accomplish for the 4 years that I've been in this role. So thank you. We're going to use this study and springboard from here to come up with some strategies to address things like talent and also for all the things, but primarily talent and having greater value for our startup and entrepreneur community. So now I'd like to take a moment and introduce our panelists for the day. For today. First, I'll introduce Amy Gilliland, the president of GDIT. For those of you who are not familiar with the organization, it's a global consulting tech and professional services company, and they deliver solutions to virtually almost every major agency across the U.S. government and the Department of Defense and intelligence community. I can't wait for you to hear about what GDIT is doing and all their tech accelerators. We also have Dave Link, who is the founder and CEO of Science Logic. They're a leader in IT operation management and AI operations. They provide insights to clients, helping them predict and resolve problems quickly in our digital world. They do have some government contracting business. I think Dave told me about 18% of their overall business, so very focused on the commercial side of things. And then also welcome back to Bruce, President and CEO of Maximus, and they are a global company that works predominantly in the U.S. federal civilian sector, as well as state, local, and international governments to enhance public service delivery of government programs that are made available to citizens. So with that, welcome everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm so glad you guys are all here today. So we're going to basically cover a question or two on each of on most of the pillars. I think we're going to cover 4 of them. So the first one I would like to talk about is the innovation topic and what companies are investing in. We heard that in the report that regional companies are investing more in Gen I, cyber, and cloud technologies, more so than our global peers and our regional and our national tech hubs. So I'm going to start with you, Amy. What technology investments is GDIT making today, and what's driving those decisions? And I know that's a very general question, but I'm interested in what GDIT is doing.
Yes, for sure, Jennifer. And so much of what Maisha said really resonated with me. So I really appreciate McKinsey's work in supporting NVTC on this. I guess I'll start with the second part of the question first. We are a federal government contractor, so our investments are guided by our customers' requirements. And so really interesting time period that we are in now. Maisha alluded to this. It's very exciting because in the aftermath of the global pandemic, what we saw is a realization that technology can do things that we hadn't imagined before. and the acceleration of that technology, and frankly, the acceleration of our customers' requirements, driven both by necessity and also by our adversaries' behavior, has caused our customers to say things that were on their technology roadmap for 5 years, 10 years from now, they need now or 3 years from now. They have an acceleration in their timelines, and also a need to invest in IT in a way perhaps they weren't doing before. So that's the why. And it's not just one particular customer. I would say it's our customers across the government. And frankly, both on the CIO side of the house, so the internal IT needs of our customers, as well as on the mission side of the house. So those that are serving, on the pointy edge of the sphere. So that informed GDIT's decision a couple of years ago to invest in what we call digital accelerators, which you alluded to, Jennifer. Really, we launched a multi-part strategy at that point. One, we would invest in these accelerators, and they needed to align with these requirements that we were hearing from our customers, which is, we don't have the luxury to design these from scratch. We want proven solutions that are flexible and cyber hardened. So we want to know they work. We want to know that they are up to the standards of security that we need in our environment. And we want to make use of what we have to the extent that we can. And so our accelerators are in all the places you would imagine. And as Maisha highlighted, so hybrid cloud, I know she highlighted that as one of the three, certainly artificial intelligence and machine learning, post-quantum crypto, 5G, any of a variety of AI ops, software factories, etc. Now, that isn't the whole strategy for us, because it is important how we continue to evolve those strategies. So we also continue to invest in our labs. And so a lab for us is really a place where we can experiment so that we know we're handing our customers proven solutions. By the way, solutions I'm using in my own environment at GDIT, which I think is really important, and also places where our customers and our academic partners can come in and help us evolve. So those R&D labs have been really an essential part of being able to accelerate bringing these technologies to the mission and the timeline that the customer is demanding. Then our commercial partnerships. So as a systems integrator, our value is that we've been in the mission for decades, and partnering with commercial companies that really are investing, we can leverage the investments they're making in technologies themselves and bring those and integrate them to the mission. So our commercial partnerships, we've really doubled down on, and we have been able to bring those technologies to bear on this accelerated timeline I talked about. And then finally, I want to highlight something that you didn't raise specifically in your question, but I think that when we think about technology investment strategies, we have to talk about the people part of it, because I can invest in digital accelerators all day, but I have to have an employee workforce that can deliver those. And I have a fabulous workforce, but we need to continue to evolve our skills. So we have really doubled down on our investment in tuition and technical training. We've quadrupled our technical certifications in cyber, AI, and cloud over the last couple of years. We're also focusing on internal mobility. I'm a huge advocate of that, because that is how we're establishing a multifaceted workforce that has a lot of experience. So I could drone on forever. I'm very passionate about this subject, but I'll stop there unless you want more.
Amy, thank you. I'm going to ask you a specific question in a moment about talent and some of the things GDIT is doing. So thank you for covering those four main categories of where GDIT is investing. I'm now going to turn to Dave. Tell us a little bit about what Science Logic is investing in these days.
Well, thanks for having me today. Yeah, this is a company that I started regionally in the Reston area, and we're still here 20 years later. We have not fallen for the gravitational pull to move all high-tech companies that are doing well to the West Coast. There have been plenty who have tried, but we love the Mid-Atlantic. Our business is framed by a notion that devices, IoT devices, sensors, servers, cloud systems are growing exponentially. And there's a digital exhaust fume that comes from those devices that relates to their health, similar to a checkup you'd get at the doctor with an EKG and many other blood tests. Lots of parameters come from those tests, and we evaluate them to determine the patient's health. So we do this for computer infrastructure, networks, clouds, servers, databases, security infrastructure, real time, to give IT professionals line of sight to how things are behaving at that moment in time. So at Science Logic, we really know you're really only as smart as the data you have. And you can't measure what you can't see. So we try to collect trillions of objects every few days across our customer estate and then make the most sense of that. So where we're investing is, as Amy said, generative AI, machine reasoning, because the data sources and the volume and velocity of data is coming faster than humans can process it. So they need an assistant, they need a co-pilot, they need a tool that can help them weed through this mountain of information and make the sense of the proactive insights that you want to then take action against. So that's really the core of what we do each and every day. We deliver a product that, as you said, is largely to large enterprises, carriers, service providers, regulated industries across the globe. About 18% of our business is the federal government. So a little bit less about Science Logic. The use cases that are really interesting right now are generative AI has really changed the way that we can summarize information in a human readable format. In some cases, let's just take devices emit something called logs, and log data is actually quite fractured in its text and some numbers within it. And we might get 40 terabytes of logs from one application over the course of a couple of days. And when there's a problem, you really want to sift through all those logs and figure out the unknown unknown. So the security team might be looking for fingerprints and patterns that are recurring that you're searching for, but they're not looking for the things that are seldom found, that haven't been acknowledged already. The unknown unknowns are things that cause IT teams immense amount of time to figure out. Usually it has to go to a software developer to figure out what happened. You look through the logs to figure out what happened. Why did we have a service outage? So we're doing some very clever things at line speed for logs for really the next generation of using machine reasoning and generative AI to process through that to figure out what information might take somebody 2 or 3 weeks to figure out where the problem is and figure it out in a few minutes. And that, I think, is kind of the practical nature of what is happening in IT today. People need to do a lot more with a lot less. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the problem that we solve for.
Right. Wow, Dave. I remember you explaining to me, it's all about doing things faster, smarter, more efficient.
Yes.
All those things, getting access to that, to the knowledge that you need to make a decision more swiftly. So Bruce, a lot of your services are to enhance a customer experience, a user experience. Tell us how Maximus is investing in AI and other technologies.
Sure, and I want to pick up a little bit where Amy left off, in the sense that when I think about investments in technology and innovation, it all begins with people and talent. And without just world-class talent throughout the organization, we can't deliver on our mission and our customers' mission. So, we're thrilled that we've been able to attract and bring in just some amazing talent at the very top of the enterprise technology area of Maximus, but also, there's a great pool of talent in this area for solution architects and engineers of many types. Obviously, we invest a lot in software development engineers, folks that can do database work, network operations, things like that. but also program managers, people with excellent program management skills, and then get into specialized skills like cybersecurity and, of course, AI and the data sciences that adjoin that, and machine learning and so forth. So it really is the tech talent pool in this region is fantastic, and we found that it's only improved in recent years as larger companies have come here and established themselves, but also as our academic partners have really stepped up in terms of the volume and the caliber of the graduates that come out of the programs. Our biggest challenge, it feels like, is trying to retain the talent in the region once they graduate, which is another topic altogether, right? In terms of the challenges that we face. The second area of investment that I'd point to after talent is infrastructure. So we invest in the infrastructure that's needed to assist our government customers in delivering on their mission. What's that mean? Like cloud-based solutions or that are platforms that can be delivered as a service. One example is, because we are focused on customer contact centers and citizen services, what are known as CCaaS. These are cloud-based contact centers as a service that can be delivered through a cloud-enabled infrastructure that meets all the security requirements of the federal government and so forth. But there are many contact center solutions that are kind of going through end of life that have historically been premise-based, and it's created a demand in the market to migrate to the cloud and support those new environments securely through the cloud. Like many companies also in this area, we're investing in CMMC compliance, because that's going to become, of course, very important in defense, but likely to ripple then through the civilian agencies and so forth. So that would be the infrastructure piece. And then the last area that I'd mentioned, the third area, would be innovation, just investments in innovation. And I think it's taken us a little while to realize that, we're not going to always have the most innovative technology that we need to put our hands on at a moment in time to differentiate our solutions and to really deliver the very best for our customers. So tapping into the broader tech ecosystem in the region has been very helpful for us. And this past year, maybe we were a little slow compared to others, but we created a corporate venture capital, or CVC, capability that's run out of our corporate development organization, where we're constantly out interviewing and talking to companies that are bringing early stage technology to practical application, where we can make investments in them that can help them get it over the line, but also in exchange, we can deploy that technology into our solutions to really differentiate them. And an example like that would be kind of looking beyond where the current kind of GPT-based LLM models have taken us with AI, and think about what the next frontier of AI and its use might be in areas that maybe are less administrative in nature, where you need to have the explainability of what the tool is presenting to you and so forth. So there's a lot of potential there. And I guess the last very final point on that would be, we don't view investments in innovation, and I think Amy kind of alluded to this as well, as just meaning investments in minimum viable products and small tiger teams and R&D functions or CVC investments, as I mentioned, but also investments with larger partners, strategic partners that themselves are investing, in many cases, billions of dollars in innovation. Wow. And I think, getting out of the mindset that you have to build everything yourself, but rather saying, look, for certain components, I'm going to bring in best in class from these other companies and benefit from the innovation investments they're making, and together have a stronger solution, is a direction of travel that a lot of us are trying to move in.
That's great. And that's why the ecosystem matters so much.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. The collaboration. All right, let's talk about the proximity to the federal government. We know that this region, the federal government's been a major economic engine that's brought a great deal of stability to this area, especially like in 2008 in the Great Recession, and even during the pandemic. Also, as we know, with each administration change, government contractors continuously have to adapt and identify opportunities, and they continue to commit to serving the federal government's needs, as Amy said. We have been seeing and reading in recent news stories with the new administration coming up in 2025 that we're probably going to see an increased investment in the Department of Defense and ongoing investments in technology modernization. When I've talked to people, about this topic, we have to continue to enhance our national security, on the front lines, but as well from cybersecurity threats. So with all this in mind, and I know no one has a crystal ball, but how are your individual companies leveraging technology tools, processes to address the government's modernization needs? And what approaches are you planning to take with the new administration, on the horizon here? It may be continue, usual as usual, business as usual. Of course, listening to the customer. I'm just curious how you all are going to approach this. I'm going to start with Amy on this question.
Questions today, Jennifer. Super easy ones too. I will not prognosticate about a new administration. What I can say, and I know Dave and Bruce will agree with me on this, is, Dave said he built his company here 20 years ago. So just by definition, he has navigated many different administrations, and Bruce the same. He's been in the industry a long time. We serve the needs of our customers, and that is apolitical. It is about really understanding what is the problem and how can we help solve it. So certainly agility in this environment is important, and understanding the customer's priorities and making sure that we're aligned with them as an organization. I think that is, what we're telling our employees. What's important is that they stay focused on getting things done. So, let's talk a little bit about how we're, answering your question about how we're helping the government modernize. First of all, I don't think it's about any particular tool or technology or process, Jennifer. I think it is about how we apply those to the mission. And so that is really gets at the heart of the problem, because the tools can do all kinds of amazing things, as Dave and Bruce highlighted. There's technology that is getting us places we haven't imagined before, but you have to layer on top of that security requirements, the reality of operating in disconnected environments. There's any of a variety of considerations, and so I think co-solutioning for us is really important. Making sure that there is a side-by-side development of what it is that the customer needs. And so I'd go back to those innovation and R&D labs. We have an innovation center here that we have built at our headquarters in the last year or so, where our customers are coming in and we're demonstrating those accelerators, showing them, like, this isn't a PowerPoint slide, this is an actual solution. Let me show you how it works.
Wow.
And then you can tell me what you like and what you don't like, and we can tailor this to your needs because they are flexible. I'd say, so that's sort of part one for me. Part two, there definitely are processes enabled by technologies now that are super beneficial to the government, particularly when we are in a resource-constrained environment. So one that I would highlight particularly that we've really been leaning into with great success is digital engineering environment, also known as DEE. Because every Pentagon contractor needs a good acronym. D is basically, it's a virtual environment that allows the government to test digital prototypes before they're built. So you can figure out what works and doesn't work under what conditions before you actually build the whatever it is, weapon system, IT system, etc. And so that allows you to agilely evolve, develop systems, which is really important in this environment. And then lastly, I would say understanding what the customer's needs in the mission are and how you can bring things to them. So we just acquired a company called IEX, and they are at the very point of the sphere for the Special Operations Command based out of Tampa. We have a lot of great solution architects and data scientists here in this region that are supporting SOCOM's missions, and they are using the latest in artificial intelligence and data processing, because to Dave's point, you have a lot of information, but if you don't know what it is and you can't put
Mhm.
it in the hands of somebody that can use it quickly, it's really of no value to you in the moment. So, understanding how you can bring that to the mission and working with a customer to do so. Those are things that we're focused on. I think the last point I would make is one, I'll just underscore something that Bruce or Dave said, I'm not sure which, but the customer has to do more with less right now. And presenting solutions that allow the customer to replace costs they have with something that is more cost efficient and brings them more capability is essential, because this is a zero sum or less game.
Bruce, how about you? How is Maximus looking forward and going to, be agile and responsive to the next administration and what to
Well,
expect?
in many ways, right, the underlying conditions that existed, on November 5th didn't change the morning of November 6th. And so there's just so much, for example, technical debt out there that needs to be addressed through modernization initiatives and so on and so forth. So when we think about technology investments, when we think about modernization for our customers, we're a little bit different than some of the other companies in town because we think about it through the lens of business process services, where we are engaged by our customers to deliver really an end result that could be technology enabled and delivered with technology, but it's mostly focused on the citizen experience. And then we think about technology consulting services or classic kind of, application development systems integration. So taking both of those, if I think about those investments, a lot of what we remain focused on is how do we continue to provide an excellent customer experience and digital customer experience for the nearly 150 million Americans with whom we can come in contact through the programs that we administer. So nearly 1 in 2 Americans, one way or another, might end up interacting with one of our programs. And that need for a digital citizen experience kind of transcends administrations. A statistic I read recently is that only 2% of US federal government forms have been digitized. I'm amazed by that.
Wow.
I mean, there's so much yet to go. And while there are some fantastic examples of how the citizen experience has improved and continues to improve, there are still a lot of opportunities. And in fact, the very first kind of Digital Citizen Services Act was passed during the first Trump administration and then went through to the point of implementation guidance during the Biden administration. So kind of a bipartisan trend that continues. I also think about some of the modernization initiatives that are happening across many federal government agencies. And Amy was very generous in saying that I've been around the industry for a long time, very polite way of saying I'm old. And but it's true. 20 years ago, when I was still at IBM, I remember working on IRS modernization at that time. And IRS modernization is now kind of happening again, right? 2 decades later. So there are cycles that we go through in government where these systems become no longer fit for purpose and they need to be re-engineered and they need to be revised. And I think that the fundamental business cases that were built to put these modernization programs in place and secure the funding and demonstrate the return on investment still hold up really well. And so the question then becomes, and Amy put it very well, how do we do more with less? How do we help our customers really harness the technologies that are now available and optimize and modernize these systems in a way that's very cost conscious. I mean, we're all quite aware that we may have a Department of Government Efficiency. We're not quite sure yet what the scope and aperture of that will be and what the priorities will be. But I think the nice thing is that the Northern Virginia technology community is tremendously well equipped to respond to that, because every day we're thinking about innovation. We're thinking about how do we do more with less? How do we help our customers achieve the mission? We're like built for purpose here to help address these challenges. So I think honestly, there's a lot of great opportunity for the tech community to engage and help deliver for our customers in those areas.
That's great. So that's very calming, I think, to a lot of people that we're just our companies are staying focused on the mission at hand, serving the customer needs. And as I'm listening to this, doing more with less, and there's just so much demand for ongoing modernization. I am an eternal optimist. I try to be. That I think that this is a signal that there's going to be continued demand for technologies. So again, in those three areas we talked about, we heard about in the survey, where we're seeing greater investments. I am going to come back to Amy with a talent question, but first I just want to talk to Dave about the ecosystem, and then we'll wrap it up. So as Maisha said, we've made a lot of remarkable strides in our regional tech ecosystem. But we have heard over the years and in the survey that there's areas where we can improve, such as increasing access to investment capital and also just providing more support for startups and emerging growth companies. In your opinion, what opportunities exist for this region to drive innovation with startups and growth companies today? As we saw in the past, in the 1990s, we became a telecom industry hub, and now we're the data center capital of the world. As you look forward, do you see an opportunity for us to become well-known for a various industry moving forward?
I do. It's a great question. And I think this survey is a launch point for potentially a catalyst as as technology leaders across the region think about the next generation of leaders and opportunities. When I started my career here in the DC area, I was in the telecommunications industry in the late 80s. And that was an amazing time because AT&T was being deregulated and the bells were forming and local, regional operating companies were forming. That deregulation of a national telephone network to regional systems changed a lot. It brought a lot of innovation. It brought a lot of MCI was formed here, LCI, AOL. So that really created a boom for this region on that foundational material change in how the country was going to be connected. And we've seen what a masterful job that has done, even most recently with the Rural Telecommunications Act, enabling fiber to homes in very, very small communities. So that's been terrific. We then saw, and your report articulates, Virginia did some very smart things.
Mm-hmm.
They created some very smart tax incentives that pulled the data center industry to Northern Virginia. Now, to some degree, it was assisted by the telecommunications industry and the kind of May East, and the internet was started here. So we had good telco infrastructure, good long haul telco. But we took advantage of those raw assets and made the most of them. The report articulates this is now the largest data center operations area in the globe.
Mm-hmm.
The next largest, we are 2 times larger. So we are the global leader in data center infrastructure, global leader, and not a long period of time. I think as we put our heads together, and both Bruce and Amy articulated, the future is going to be using potentially that we have in our backyard, these data centers that are getting filled up with NVIDIA and generative AI infrastructure and other kinds of infrastructure. And we will continue to be a leader there. I'd love to see us with state incentives and other things we're not going to be the large language model leaders of the world, but we could be the small language model leaders of the world with some very smart innovation for smarter government, as Bruce said, smarter forms, smarter interaction with how applications are run and how they work and how they interact with an end user. And a lot of those are based on small language models that are localized to a specific use case or application set. They don't need the whole large language model. It's too expensive to reason over all those tokens. So I think with the right investment and the right mindset and the right leadership in the region, once again, we have all the elements, including the federal government's need to be a leader in Gen AI, but maybe not the hyperscale leader, a different kind of leadership. And we are really well poised with the right personnel. We need to invest more in training and certifications. As Bruce said, we need to make sure the universities have the right curriculum to bring people to market that actually can do compelling work coming out of school. And then last, our leaders with state and local officials need to lean in and make, the economic development office in Fairfax is among the best in the world. So
Right,
we know
right.
how to do this. We've been successful 2 times in a row against quantum changes that affected the entire country. So I think we can do it a third time in a row with the right leadership and focus.
I loved that description of a small language model. I love that. And, just processing more concise data to get more specific and accurate results. I really like that. I will tell you, FCEDA, Fairfax County EDA, I spoke to Victor 2 weeks ago, and I'm quoting him, so I hope I get this right, but the GDP in Fairfax has been growing at a rate of 5%, outpaced
Wow.
the US of 2.8 that I read in the Wall Street Journal, I think, over a few weeks ago. So this is exciting. And also, just as an FYI, FCEDA, in collaboration with some other regional partners, is investing a few $100,000 into curating a global space conference. And the first one is going to be next November 2025. So
Great.
we do have some exciting things on the horizon. So I know that my clock is always behind on this computer of mine. So we only have like 5 minutes. I'm going to just ask Amy quickly, like, what are some examples of how GDIT is investing in your talent? Maybe some examples of what you're doing with George Mason, or anything else you would like to share, because as we know, talent is the core of all of our innovation engine here. So I was just curious what specific examples you're doing with our
Yeah.
area.
I'll just keep it short because you highlight we're short on time, and I think Dave and Bruce have underscored this. There's not any one answer to this. I think there's multiple answers. So first, we have to retain the talent we have, and we have to train and help that talent evolve. So we have been investing in learning and development courses for our employees. They love technical training. I have 28,000 technologists. So this is right up their alley, making sure that we focus them in the areas that requirements are coming at, but giving training that's engaging and applicable. That is, and giving our employees the time to do it, and frankly, requiring it. But retaining those employees also means creating company cultures where they want to be a part, where they feel like they're appreciated. So there's a whole cultural aspect that I could talk about, but I will highlight only one piece of what we're doing, and that's internal mobility. And I highlight that because we're using AI, so we're using technology to help us with technology. So we've developed an internal mechanism that employees can go in, and as they're thinking about what their next opportunity is, or thinking about what kind of training they might need, it is filter full, so it's Netflix like. You can go in and put in what you like to do, what your interests are, and it will provide opportunities inside of GDIT. So that's our existing talent. To your point, we also have to cultivate talent coming to the industry. I think there are two pieces to that. One, we have to continue to talk about the cool things we're doing. We want people, they understand national security and government citizen services as a mission, but they need to understand that we're at the foray of technology here. We're Silicon Valley in Virginia, doing such cool things. Being, to Dave's point, we're the leader in small language learning models. That attracts talent here. And second, partner with the institutions that we have. I will underscore what was said about Greg Washington at George Mason. We're certainly partnering there. The largest and most diverse educational institution right in our backyard. And we're partnering there not just on the technology side in cyber and AI, but also in what enables our industry, like contracting. Building the next generation of those professionals is important also. So multifaceted approach, and a super exciting time for young professionals to come to our industry and build the future.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up the panel discussion right now. I want to thank you all so much for joining us. We could go on and on, but we're going to continue this conversation through NVTC signature events and our communities of interest as well. So in closing, I would like to give a special thank you to you, Amy, Dave, and Maisha, and Bruce, to each of you for being here today. It really means a lot to our community, and I really appreciate this insightful discussion. As I've shared before, we are so fortunate as a region to have so many leaders and visionaries committed to our region's success. And today's webinar has made it has made it very clear how pivotal this region and the broader tech landscape is. For those of you who are on today, if you're eager to dive further into the study, you may download the full report on nvtc.org's website or use this QR code that you can see on the screen. We're also going to include the link in our post-event email. As we look ahead, please join NVTC at our upcoming Tech 100 event on December 10th. It'll be an incredible opportunity to continue to expand your network and meet with top innovators and leaders in the region. And I invite you to keep the conversation going. We're going to be running and sharing a lot of these slides and content on social media. And feel free to chime in and share your thoughts. And I welcome you all to continue to engage with NVTC. It's the best way, in my opinion, to grow your business, your brand, your network with this unique access to our tech community. So thank you all so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.